The city hums, the phone vibrates, the inbox screams, your chest tightens like a fist that forgot how to open. You tell yourself it's the job, the traffic, the bills, the noise. But what if I told you that overwhelm doesn't come from the world pressing against you? What if it comes from something you're doing inside, something invisible, something you've been trained not to see? In the next few minutes, you'll discover the hidden architecture of overwhelm. You'll learn why your mind manufactures chaos even when your schedule clears. You'll see the three silent thieves stealing your calm and the ancient practice that returns sovereignty to your attention. This isn't about managing time. It's about unmasking the real enemy, and when you see it, everything shifts. Right now, somewhere in this city, someone sits in a quiet room and feels crushed. The noise is gone, the demands have paused, but the pressure remains thick as smoke. That paradox is the first clue. Overwhelm is not a math problem. It's not the sum of tasks divided by hours. It's a condition of the mind that has lost its center. Buddhism names this with precision: the scattered mind, the mind that believes it must be everywhere at once, that mistakes movement for progress, that confuses urgency with importance. The modern world didn't invent this, it only amplified it, gave it a screen, gave it notifications, gave it the illusion of infinite connection. But the root is ancient. The root is the untrained attention, the attention that leaps like a dog off leash, chasing every sound, every scent, every shadow. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not overwhelmed by what you have to do. You are overwhelmed by what you think you should be doing, could be doing, might be failing to do. The mind builds a second city on top of the real one, a city of comparisons, expectations, judgments, catastrophic forecasts. And you live in both at once. The real city asks you to send an email, cook a meal, have a conversation. The imaginary city demands you be perfect, be faster, be admired, be invulnerable. That second city has no zoning laws. It builds towers overnight, and you, exhausted, try to inhabit them all. Let's name the three silent thieves. The first is the illusion of the solid self. You believe there is a fixed you that must control everything, achieve everything, protect a reputation, maintain an image. Buddhism calls this a mirage. What you call I is actually a flowing process, a stream of thoughts, sensations, memories, reactions. But the mind grabs at this stream and says, "This is me. This must be defended. This must succeed." When that imaginary self feels threatened, overwhelm floods in. Because the self you're defending doesn't exist the way you think it does. It's a story you tell, and stories can be rewritten. The second thief is the addiction to certainty. You want to know how it will end. You want guarantees. You want the future to confirm your script, so the mind sprints ahead, rehearsing disasters, calculating outcomes, hoarding contingency plans. That sprint exhausts you before you've taken a single real step. The Buddha taught that clinging to permanence in an impermanent world is the root of suffering. Overwhelm is clinging at high speed. It's the frantic attempt to freeze a river, to control what was never yours to control. The weather, other people's choices, the timing of results, the shape of tomorrow. You exhaust yourself trying to manage the unmanageable. The third thief is the myth of multitasking. The mind believes it can attend to 7 things at once and do them all well. Neuroscience laughs at this. What you call multitasking is rapid task switching, and every switch costs energy, clarity, presence. The mind fractures. Attention becomes a spotlight flickering between stages, and nothing gets full illumination. You finish the day having touched many things and completed nothing that matters. Worse, you've trained your attention to be shallow, to skim surfaces, to never settle. That training makes overwhelm your default state. A mind that cannot rest on one thing is a mind in perpetual emergency. Now the question arrives like a door opening. If these are the thieves, what is the practice? Buddhism offers something both ancient and radically simple: the training of attention, not as a luxury for monks in robes, but as survival skill for anyone walking through modern chaos. This training has a name: shamatha. Calm abiding. The art of placing your mind on one object and returning it there, again and again, with the patience of someone training a young animal. The object can be the breath, a sound, a sensation in the body, a visual point. It doesn't matter. What matters is the returning. Because every time you notice the mind has wandered and you bring it back, you are building a new neural pathway. You are teaching the system that attention is not a reflex, it's a choice. Here's how it works in the city. No. Incense required. You sit for 5 minutes. Just 5. You choose the breath as anchor. You feel the cool air entering the nostrils, the slight rise of the chest, the warmth leaving on the exhale. Within seconds, the mind will offer you a thought, a memory, a plan, a judgment, a fantasy. This is not failure. This is the mind doing what untrained minds do. The practice is noticing, thinking, and returning back to the breath. Again, the mind wanders. Again, you return. No punishment, no frustration, just the gentle, relentless gesture of coming back. This is not emptying the mind. This is training the mind to know where home is. At first, it feels impossible. The mind is a wild horse. It bucks, it runs, it refuses the bit. But with repetition, something shifts. The returns become quicker. The wandering loses some of its grip. You begin to notice space between thoughts, tiny gaps where there's just breath, just sensation, just presence. Those gaps are gold. They are the cracks through which another way of being enters. A way that doesn't need to control everything to feel safe. A way that can hold complexity without collapsing. Now, apply this to overwhelm. You open your inbox, 30 unread messages. The old pattern is to spiral, to feel the weight of all 30 at once, to imagine the replies, the disappointments, the urgency. The trained attention does something different. It chooses one email. It reads that one fully, responds if needed, archives or deletes. Then it moves to the next. One object, full presence, then the next. The inbox hasn't changed. Your relationship to it has. You've stopped trying to swallow the ocean. You've started drinking 1 cup at a time. Or you're in a meeting, 5 people talking, notifications pinging, your mind rehearsing what you'll say next while pretending to listen. Overwhelm thickens. The trained attention notices. It drops the rehearsal. It places itself fully on the person speaking. Hears the words, the tone, the pause. When it's your turn, you speak from presence, not from preloaded scripts. The meeting doesn't become shorter, it becomes clearer. And clarity, even in complexity, is the opposite of overwhelm. But there's a deeper layer. Buddhism teaches that overwhelm is also a teacher. It's a signal. It arrives when you've abandoned the present moment and started living in the mind's fever dream of past regrets and future catastrophes. Overwhelm is the smoke alarm of misplaced attention. So instead of hating it, you can listen to it. What is this showing me? Where have I scattered myself? What am I clinging to that I need to release? Let's go deeper into the illusion of the solid self, the first thief. Imagine you're carrying a backpack. Inside are roles: parent, employee, friend, child, partner, creator, citizen. Each role has expectations, some real, most imagined. The mind believes it must excel at all of them simultaneously. But here's the koan. You are not the backpack. You are not even the roles. You are the awareness that notices the weight. When you over-identify with roles, you create an impossible standard. You fragment. The practice is to see roles as costumes you wear, not as your essence. You can care deeply about your work without believing your worth is your productivity. You can love fiercely without thinking love means never setting boundaries. This distinction liberates. It doesn't make you less responsible. It makes you less fragile. There's a Zen story. A student asks the master, "How do I find peace?" The master hands him a cup and says, "Hold this." The student holds it. The master says, "Now hold it for an hour." The student's arm begins to shake. The master says, "Now hold it for a day." The student drops the cup. The master smiles. The weight of the cup didn't change. Your endurance did. Overwhelm works the same way. The tasks themselves are often manageable. It's the duration of mental grip that exhausts you. The refusal to put the cup down, even for a moment. The belief that if you stop holding, everything will shatter. But the truth? The cup is often empty, or it's not even yours to hold. Now the second thief, the addiction to certainty. The mind wants to know. Will this work? Will they approve? Will I be safe? Will I regret this? Those questions are natural. But when they dominate, they create paralysis or frenzy. You either freeze, unable to act without guarantees, or you spin, trying to control variables that laugh at control. Buddhist wisdom offers an antidote, not certainty, but confidence in impermanence. Everything changes, plans shift, outcomes surprise, people evolve, markets turn, your own preferences transform. Accepting this doesn't make you passive, it makes you agile. You act with the information you have. You adjust when new data arrives. You stop demanding the future to behave. There's a practice for this. It's called Tonglen in Tibetan Buddhism, but we'll adapt it for the city. When you feel the craving for certainty, pause. Breathe in the discomfort of not knowing. Don't flee it. Breathe it in like cool air. Then breathe out trust. Not blind trust, but trust in your ability to respond, to adapt, to learn as you go. Breathe in uncertainty. Breathe out spaciousness. Do this for 1 minute. It sounds strange, even counterintuitive, but it works. By leaning into the discomfort instead of resisting it, you disarm its power. Uncertainty stops being a monster. It becomes weather, and weather passes. The third thief, multitasking. The city worships it. The resume demands it. But it's a trap. Every time you split your attention, you dilute your presence. You become a ghost in your own life, half here, half elsewhere, fully nowhere. The practice is ruthless simplification, one thing at a time, not because you're slow, but because you're precise. You eat breakfast without scrolling. You walk without planning. You listen without formulating replies. This isn't inefficiency, it's depth, and depth, paradoxically, is faster. Because when you're fully present, you see what matters. You skip what doesn't. You stop wasting energy on the noise that masquerades as signal. Here's a micro practice: the red light meditation. Every time you hit a red light, instead of cursing or checking your phone, take 3 conscious breaths. Feel the seat beneath you. Notice the color of the light, the hum of the engine, the temperature of the air. That's it. 30 seconds of presence embedded in a daily routine. Do this for a week. Notice what shifts. The red light stops being an obstacle. It becomes a bell, a reminder to return home to your body, to now. But let's address the resistance. The mind will say, I don't have time for this. I have real problems. Sitting with my breath won't pay the bills. That voice is the overwhelm speaking. It's the voice that believes more speed, more effort, more control is the answer. Buddhism doesn't argue with that voice. It invites you to test it. Try it. 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks. See if your capacity to handle the real problems shifts. Most people find that it does, not because the problems shrink, but because their inner weather stabilizes. They stop adding mental storms to external challenges. There's also the question of privilege. Not everyone can carve out 5 minutes. Some days are genuinely relentless. Buddhism understands this. The practice adapts. If you can't sit, practice while standing in line. If you can't close your eyes, practice with eyes open, softening your gaze. If you can't focus on breath, focus on the sensation of your feet on the ground. The principle remains. Anchor attention, notice wandering, return. The form is flexible, the function is not. Now let's talk about the difference between healthy stress and overwhelm. Stress is the body's intelligent response to a demand. Your heart rate increases, your focus sharpens, you mobilize energy. That's useful. Overwhelm is when that response doesn't turn off. When every email feels like a predator, every deadline like a cliff. The nervous system gets stuck in high alert. Buddhism calls this living in the realm of hungry ghosts, always consuming, never satisfied, perpetually agitated. The way out is not to eliminate stress, it's to complete the stress cycle. Movement helps. A walk, a stretch, shaking your body for 60 seconds. Sound helps. Humming, singing, even a deliberate sigh. Connection helps. A real conversation, a hug, eye contact that isn't rushed. These actions tell the nervous system the threat is past. You are safe. You can rest. Combine this with attention training and you build resilience. You learn to ride waves instead of being flattened by them. You develop what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to hold discomfort without it dictating your actions. That tolerance is not numbness, it's strength. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, often regrettable. Responding is chosen, often wise. Here's another layer. Overwhelm often masks grief. Grief for the life you thought you'd have. Grief for the energy you used to possess. Grief for relationships that shifted or ended. Grief for the simplicity that seems lost. The culture doesn't give you space to grieve. It tells you to optimize, to hustle, to upgrade. So the grief goes underground. It emerges as overwhelm, as irritability, as numbness. The practice here is tender. Allow the grief. Name it softly. I am grieving. I am mourning what was. That acknowledgement doesn't fix anything, but it stops you from blaming yourself for feeling what is human to feel. And when grief is given space, it often transforms, not into happiness, but into acceptance. And acceptance, as we've learned, is the soil where peace grows. Let's bring in compassion, not the sentimental kind, but the practical kind. Compassion is recognizing suffering and responding with the intention to ease it. Start with yourself. When overwhelm arrives, instead of the usual inner critic that says you're weak, you're failing, you're not enough, try a different voice. This is hard. I'm struggling. What do I need right now? Maybe you need water. Maybe you need to close your eyes for 60 seconds. Maybe you need to say no to something. Maybe you need to ask for help. Compassion doesn't erase the difficulty. It stops you from adding cruelty to difficulty. And that shift, small as it seems, changes everything. Then extend that compassion outward. The colleague who snapped at you, maybe they're overwhelmed too. The driver who cut you off, maybe they're late to something that matters. This isn't excusing bad behavior. It's choosing not to let bad behavior colonize your inner space. You set boundaries when needed. You protect your energy. But you do it without the poison of resentment, because resentment is just overwhelm turned sour. There's a Tibetan practice called Lojong, mind training. One of its slogans is, always maintain, only a joyful mind. That sounds absurd when you're drowning, but it doesn't mean fake happiness. It means protecting the quality of your inner atmosphere. You can be in a hard situation and still refuse to let bitterness, cynicism, or despair set the tone. How? By returning again and again to what is actually happening right now. Not the story about what it means, not the catastrophic future it implies, but the raw, immediate present. Right now, I am breathing. Right now, I am sitting. Right now, I'm okay. That grounding interrupts the overwhelm spiral. Now let's address digital overwhelm specifically. The phone is a portal to infinite demand. Every app wants your attention. Every notification is a hook. The mind, already fragmented, splinters further. Buddhist wisdom here is clear. You are not obligated to be available to everyone at all times. Availability is not virtue, it's a choice. And chronic availability is a form of self-abandonment. Set windows. During these hours, I am reachable. During these, I am not. Turn off non-essential notifications. Let the phone be a tool you use, not a master you serve. This isn't anti-technology, it's pro-sanity. There's also the phenomenon of vicarious overwhelm. You absorb the chaos of the world through screens. Wars, disasters, injustices, outrage, all real, all important. But consuming them without pause, without discernment, without action, turns you into a sponge for suffering you cannot alleviate. Buddhism teaches skillful engagement. Stay informed. Act where you can. Donate, volunteer, vote, speak. But also protect your capacity to act by not drowning in the flood. You are not required to witness every atrocity in real time. You are required to stay sane enough to contribute where your hands can reach. Let's return to the breath, because it's the thread that ties all of this together. The breath is always happening. You don't have to create it, earn it, or perfect it. It's a free anchor available every second of your life. When overwhelm rises, the breath is your reset button, not because breathing solves problems, but because it brings you back to the present. And in the present, overwhelm has less grip. The present is almost always manageable. It's the mind's time travel into past regrets or future fears that creates the pressure. Here's a variation. Box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. Repeat 4 times. This pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. It's a biological hack. It tells your body there is no emergency. And when the body calms, the mind follows. You can do this in a bathroom stall, in your car, before a meeting, during a meeting if you're subtle. It takes 90 seconds. 90 seconds to interrupt a spiral. But what about when the overwhelm is justified? When you genuinely have too much on your plate? Buddhism doesn't deny reality. It doesn't say overwhelm is always imaginary. Sometimes the load is real. The practice then is triage. What is urgent and important? Do that first. What is urgent but not important? Delegate or delay. What is important but not urgent? Schedule it. What is neither? Let it go. This is the Eisenhower matrix dressed in robes. It works because it forces clarity. Overwhelm loves ambiguity. Clarity is its kryptonite. Also, learn to say no, not as aggression, but as self-respect. No, I can't take that on right now. No, that doesn't align with my priorities. No, I need rest. The guilt will come. The guilt is trained. You've been taught that saying no is selfish, but saying yes when you're empty is a lie. It breeds resentment, poor work, and burnout. A no spoken with kindness is often more generous than a resentful yes. There's also the practice of releasing outcomes. You plant seeds. You water them. You tend the soil. But you don't control the weather, the season, the time of bloom. In work, in relationships, in creative projects, you do your part with full effort. Then you release the grip on how it must turn out. This isn't apathy, it's trust. Trust that your sincere effort has value regardless of applause. Trust that you cannot see all the variables. Trust that sometimes the no you receive is protecting you from a yes that would have harmed you. Let's talk about rest. Real rest, not the scrolling that masquerades as rest. Rest is when the nervous system can genuinely discharge. Sleep, obviously. But also walks in nature, if accessible. Sitting in silence. Listening to music that doesn't demand anything. Staring at water, at sky, at fire. Activities that let the mind wander without task. The culture demonizes this as laziness. Buddhism calls it necessary. The mind, like the body, needs recovery. Without it, you run on fumes, and fumes don't sustain clarity, creativity, or compassion. Here's a radical idea. Schedule do nothing time. 30 minutes where the only task is to not task, sit, lie down, watch clouds, let thoughts come and go. This feels impossible at first. The mind will scream with urgency. Let it scream. Notice the scream. It's just a habit. Habits can be retrained. Over time, that do-nothing time becomes a refuge. You begin to crave it. It becomes the space where insights arrive, where tension unwinds, where you remember who you are beneath the roles. Now, a practice for when overwhelm is acute. The body scan. Lie down or sit. Close your eyes. Bring attention to the top of your head. Notice any sensation or the absence of sensation. No judgment. Move slowly down. Forehead, eyes, jaw, neck, shoulders, chest, arms, hands, belly, hips, legs, feet. Spend 30 seconds on each area. If you find tension, breathe into it. Don't force it to release. Just breathe near it, like offering warmth to a cold hand. This practice does 2 things. It interrupts the mental loop of overwhelm, and it reconnects you to the body, which is always in the present. The body doesn't worry about tomorrow. It only knows now. Let's address the myth that overwhelm is a badge of honor. The culture glorifies busyness. If you're not overwhelmed, you're not important, not ambitious, not successful. Buddhism calls this delusion. Busyness is not the same as meaningful work. Often, busyness is avoidance. Avoidance of stillness, of difficult feelings, of questions you're not ready to answer. The truly effective are not the most frantic. They are the most focused. They say no to 90 things to say yes to 10. They protect their attention like a sacred resource. Because it is. Here's a confession. Even with practice, overwhelm will return. It's not a problem to solve once and discard. It's a pattern to notice and interrupt, again and again. Some days you'll do it well. Other days you'll spiral. That's not failure. That's being human. The practice is not perfection, it's return. Every time you notice you've wandered into overwhelm and you bring yourself back to breath, to body, to now, you win. Not a dramatic win. A quiet, accumulating win. And those quiet wins build a life of more peace, more presence, more capacity to love and work and rest without the constant hum of emergency. So if you take only one thing from this, let it be this. Overwhelm is not the world's fault, though the world contributes. It is the signal that your attention has been hijacked. And attention, unlike time or money or approval, is something you can reclaim. One breath at a time, one choice at a time, one present moment at a time. You don't need a monastery. You need the willingness to stop, to notice, to return. That willingness is the practice. That practice is the path. And the path, walked with patience, leads not to a life without challenges, but to a life where challenges no longer colonize your inner sky. Share this understanding with someone who is drowning. Subscribe to continue training together. The art of living awake in the chaos with a heart that knows how to find its center. When you close this, take 3 breaths before moving. Let them be full. Let them be yours. The city will still be there, but you, for a moment, will be here. And here is where freedom lives.